A single insult can ruin an entire day only if you hand your peace to the person who spoke it. Maybe someone laughed at your mistake. Maybe a stranger spoke rudely. Maybe a loved one ignored your kindness. And suddenly frustration filled your chest like fire. But here is the truth most people never understand. Nobody owns your emotions unless you surrender them willingly. There once lived a man whose temper ruled every corner of his life, until one quiet teacher shattered everything he believed about anger. This story may change the way you see every argument forever. Far beyond the crowded towns, beside green hills and flowing rivers, lived a farmer named Daniel. Throughout the village, he was known for his terrible temper. If breakfast arrived late, he complained loudly. If goats wandered near his crops, he exploded instantly. Even harmless laughter from children irritated him beyond reason. "Can nobody stay silent around here?" he barked constantly. Daniel believed everyone around him caused his misery. Never once did he question his own reactions. His wife Clara often tried calming him gently. "Daniel, why do tiny moments steal your peace so easily?" she asked quietly one evening. Daniel slammed his cup against the table. "Because people have no respect anymore. Should I simply smile while others behave foolishly?" Without realizing it, Daniel allowed every rude word and every inconvenience to control his emotions completely. The angry mind becomes a prison without walls. One autumn afternoon, a traveler entered the village. He wore plain gray clothing and carried nothing except a walking stick. Yet something about his calm face drew attention immediately. He rested beneath an old cedar tree near the riverbank. Villagers gathered nearby, whispering among themselves. "That traveler rarely speaks," they said, "but when he does, people never forget his words." Later that evening, Clara looked toward Daniel carefully. "Why not visit the traveler tomorrow? Maybe he could help you understand your anger." Daniel laughed bitterly. What could a wandering stranger possibly know about difficult people? He spends his days sitting peacefully while I deal with real problems. The following morning, Daniel was repairing a wooden fence when a young boy accidentally stepped on his tools and cracked one of them. Instantly, Daniel erupted with rage. He shouted so fiercely that nearby birds scattered from the trees. The frightened child ran home crying. That night, Daniel sat outside alone under the dark sky. His breathing remained heavy long after the argument ended. Quietly, he whispered to himself, "Why does anger leave me emptier every single time?" For the first time, he questioned his own behavior honestly. Before dawn arrived, Daniel walked silently toward the cedar tree beside the river. The traveler sat there peacefully listening to water flow across smooth stones. Daniel hesitated awkwardly before speaking. "I'm exhausted," he admitted softly. "Everywhere I go, people provoke me. I don't know how to stop feeling angry." The traveler opened his eyes with a gentle smile. "Sit beside me, friend." After several moments of silence, the traveler asked, "When somebody offends you, how long does your anger stay alive?" Daniel thought carefully. "Sometimes a few hours, sometimes the entire day. And after those feelings finally disappear," the traveler continued, "what remains inside you?" Daniel lowered his eyes. "Mostly regret and exhaustion." The traveler nodded slowly. "Exactly. Rage punishes the person carrying it far more than the person receiving it." He lifted a small mirror from his bag and held it toward the river. "Look carefully. When water stays still, reflection appears clearly. But when the surface shakes violently, nothing becomes visible. Your mind works the same way." Daniel frowned thoughtfully. "So should I ignore people whenever they insult me?" The traveler smiled warmly. "No, there is a difference between responding wisely and reacting blindly. Imagine somebody throws mud toward your clothes. You may step away or catch it with your bare hands. Every moment gives you that choice." The next morning, the traveler handed Daniel a bowl filled with water and another filled with ashes. Place the water above the fire, he instructed. Soon, steam rose into the cold morning air. Can you touch it now? The traveler asked. Daniel quickly pulled his hand back. Of course not. It would burn me. That boiling water is uncontrolled anger, the traveler explained. Once emotions overheat, peace disappears completely. Then he dropped ashes into the bowl. Instantly, the water turned dark and cloudy. This is what happens when the mind reacts without awareness, he continued calmly. They waited together silently beside the fire. Gradually, the ashes settled to the bottom and the water cleared again. The traveler pointed toward the bowl. Stillness restores clarity. A peaceful mind always sees truth more clearly. Daniel sat motionless, realizing he had poisoned his own thoughts for many years. Calmness protects more strength than shouting ever will. During the following weeks, Daniel practiced patience daily. Whenever irritation appeared, he paused before speaking. He repeated the traveler's lesson inside his mind. Step away from the mud, don't grab it. Breaking old habits proved difficult. Sometimes anger rushed through him like wildfire. Yet slowly, he improved. One afternoon at the marketplace, a dishonest seller attempted cheating Daniel with false measurements. Daniel felt fury rising inside him again. He nearly shouted but stopped himself at the last second. Instead, he inhaled deeply and replied calmly, "I prefer buying from honest people." Then he walked away peacefully. For the first time in years, he felt powerful without raising his voice. That evening, he slept peacefully without replaying arguments inside his head. But soon came the hardest challenge of all. Several young men in the village began mocking his calmer behavior openly. "Look, everybody!" one shouted, laughing. "The furious farmer suddenly acts wise now." Others joined the laughter loudly. Daniel felt heat spreading through his chest again. His fists tightened automatically. Inside his mind, old instincts screamed loudly. Defend yourself. Humiliate them back. Then the traveler's words echoed through his thoughts. Every reaction gives away your power. Daniel relaxed his hand slowly and smiled gently. You're correct, he admitted calmly. I spent years angry at everything. Now I'm trying to learn peace instead. The young men looked confused. One finally asked, "How can insults not bother you anymore?" Daniel answered quietly, "If someone hands you poison, you don't need to swallow it." Silence spread across the road instantly. Daniel continued walking without anger or shame. Weeks became months. Clara noticed the transformation clearly. Daniel no longer shouted during small problems. Even difficult days no longer controlled his emotions. One peaceful morning, Daniel returned to the cedar tree and bowed respectfully toward the traveler. "You helped me discover something important," he said gratefully. "People never stole my peace. I gave it away through my reactions." The traveler smiled proudly. "Life will continue testing your patience, but every calm response makes your spirit stronger." Daniel asked thoughtfully, "Will people ever stop provoking me completely?" The traveler laughed softly beside the river. "Storms stop frightening you once you learn standing calmly within them." Years later, villagers no longer remembered Daniel as an angry man. Instead, they visited him seeking advice during difficult times. He often told them, "Peace does not begin around you. It begins inside you." One afternoon, a small child asked him, "Do rude people still upset you sometimes?" Daniel smiled toward the distant hills. "Occasionally they try. But I learned something important. I cannot command the wind, yet I can guide my own sails." Looking across the valley, he spoke softly. "The moment I stopped reacting to everything, my life finally became lighter. We cannot prevent harsh words from entering our lives. We cannot remove every difficult person or painful situation. Yet we can refuse giving them authority over our peace. Every response becomes a decision. Every calm moment reveals true strength. The person who controls their reactions controls their direction in life. So the next time somebody tries disturbing your inner peace, pause for one breath and remember this story. You do not need to catch every piece of dirt thrown toward you. Real power is not found in louder shouting. Real power appears when your heart remains steady during chaos. If this story meant something to you, remember to support Winds of Thought for more stories about wisdom, growth, and inner peace.